Dark, disturbing spin-off starter with meat. In a first in my experience with Spangler, this is a book where there is a lot of interesting theological discussion just below the surface of this tale, hidden enough so that you can enjoy the actual story as told without diving too deep, but also obvious enough that it is fairly easy to follow Spangler's thinking for anyone who chooses to do so. That is the meat. Here, there really is a lot to ponder, and at least through certain sections of the tale, Spangler really makes you wrestle with a big theological word you rarely see outside of church, if you choose to do so. If you don't want to wrestle with your theological outlook, this is still, on a more surface level, a dark and disturbing thriller from a guy that is known for his dark and disturbing thrillers in his Detective Casey White series, where this spins off from, but which is only tangentially referenced a few times in this text. Yet as dark as some of the books in the other series got, and they got dark at times, this one somehow manages to go even more dark, to damn near approaching Vantablack levels. Perhaps saved from being that dark more by the ages of the child victims here, at least primarily being teenagers rather than even younger. There is a lot here that won't be for the squeamish at all. Saw-level gory murders, shown after the fact. An act that was at least somewhat more common, at least in news reports, about 60 years ago or so in a specific context, but this is about as close as I can get without going more full spoiler. Fade to black #MeToo level stuff. Oh, and the entire premise of this story being based on at least one version of Christianity, the prayer card, from the description, though I'll refrain from elaborating on which one. Suffice it to say that it too has been in the news over the years, but that actually doesn't reveal much, if anything. Winking face point being, if you're one that for whatever reason will not read any books with any mention of any aspect of Christianity at all, this book may not be for you. On the flip side, that prayer card was a clue to a murder in the description, so that 2 points in a direction where if you're one that can't read any book where that direction may be in play, also may not be the book for you. But for fans of truly dark thrillers, yeah, again, you really don't get much darker than some of the shit that happens in this book. So for that crowd in particular, y'all are going to love this. Also, Spangler's fans who have been reading the Casey White books for years, as I mentioned earlier, this is very much in that same general mindset, and in fact is really close to being effectively a way to start over in that series without actually starting over or resetting anything. Truly a nice and interesting pivot of focus that allows for a lot more stories within the same overall world. Ultimately, again, this book will not be for everyone. But for those who can at minimum tolerate this kind of tale, it is a really strong one. Either way, it does an excellent job of introducing us to this particular character and her world, and yes, it sets up Book 2, apparently scheduled for roughly 6 months after the publication of this book rather explosively. Very much recommended.